That'd take a while. And this is how you come down. Look at that, just like that, back in the house again. The house, the man cave. Feeling a little cross-eyed tired. I think I did about 4 days or 5 days straight hunting. And then a day guiding on the water, not much sleep. I'll tell you what, the water part beats the crap out of you. Big swells left over from that storm. Blazing wind and sun. And I don't sit down for about 10 hours. And then had to whip back to the boat, pack stuff up in the truck, beeline it home. Made it home, doing laundry, going right back out today. And I have to fish straight through till Wednesday, I think, or something. So hopefully I can get a lot of emails shared during, but it's going to be oddball time. So anyways, I got a couple personal, minor, but might be interesting to some update. You know, it's funny if I just tell people these things, random, anybody that's not familiar with what's really going on in the real world, it's going to be nothing. You know what I mean? I'm going to sound like a kook. Whatever. But I had my $1,100 power saw out in the front 40 here, where I was dropping trees and bucking them up, and I had a $200 sweet, wicked frickin' axe laying there. And it's just disappeared, gone, missing. If it was a thief, the saw would have been gone, right? So anyways, I did say out loud last week, I want my saw, give me my axe back. And I'm not kidding you, there's an eagle feather there the next day. Whatever. Who knows? There's a lot of eagles around. But it's not there though. But anyway, and then a couple days later I was frustrated again. I'm like, I want my axe. And I got another eagle feather laid there. And Sarah looked up the meaning of an eagle feather. I forget exactly how to word it, but it's not a bad thing, apparently. But it's not an even trade for me. But anyway, now listen to this one. So I'm helping a guy get a bear with his bow and arrow. We got one. We got a great big old one with no teeth left. But while we were walking down this one road, we walked down this old road. This is out on the coast now. And walked down the old road, and then we came back, and there's 3 eagle feathers in the middle of the road, 20 feet apart. One, 20 feet. Another one, 20 feet. Another one. And this guy, this is a guy who is a hunter, worked in forestry for years, and I was going to bring up this topic and sit him down and make a video with him and actually see what he had to say. But I decided not to. I decided it was a waste of time. It wouldn't benefit myself or him or you, so I didn't bother. And it's hard for me to bring this topic up with people who do not have an honest curiosity because of direct experiences or somebody they know. You know what I mean? It's just a waste of time. I don't have time to waste. And I just did not see any benefit from it at all. And he did not inquire at all the whole time. So there, I thought I'd make that mention. But anyway, found the 3 eagle feathers. I picked them up. They're in my truck. Then what happened? Excuse me. Then we, another day later, went down the same road, managed to get an arrow on this great big bear. And then another friend of mine, past logger friend of mine, logger hunting guide friend, is one of the guys who I use as an example who gets a look on his face like he's waiting for the punchline when this topic comes up, right? Now listen to this. I'll just share this with you guys because you know what's up. So they have a lot of problem bears in that small fishing community, and a lot of those bears get shot, and the conservation officers shoot them or help dispose, whatever. A few years back, there's a great big huge bear, troublesome bear. It got dispatched, and they put it in, they could not fit it in the bucket of the bobcat. It's too big. So I'm giving you guys an idea of how big of a chunk of meat this is. So they ended up hoisting it up with the bobcat bucket and put it in the box of a truck, and they took it way out to the end of this road, not far from where we were hunting. This is a few years back they did this. But I remembered this, and I asked, I said, hey, what happened to that big, huge bear? Where'd you get rid of that thing? Or where'd they get rid of that thing? And he says, out at the end of this same road that we're on. I go, yeah? Did you ever go out there and check out, look for the skeletal remains or grab the skull or something? He goes, yeah. He goes, actually, I went out there not too long afterwards, and he said it was gone. And he goes like this, yeah, it was just gone. No sign of it. It's weird. Right? This is the same guy that puts on the comical look on his face when the topic of Sasquatch comes up. I didn't say nothing. I don't need to say anything. But you take note of what you hear, right? So, picture that one. A bear so big it wouldn't fit in the bucket of the bobcat. They'd hoist it up, put it in the box of a truck, took it out at the end of this deactivated old logging road, threw it down the bank. And there's no skeletal remains. There's no black hair spread around everywhere from the eagles eating it, which eagles will eat a carcass of anything. And birds, buzzards and eagles are the predominant, and ravens. They will make a moose carcass disappear in about a week and a bit without grizzlies hitting it. It's crazy. That's after we've taken all the meat off of it, but they'll pick it clean in about a week. So there, and when something hits the dirt, roadkill or whatever, birds are on it instantly, and they start pulling that hair out. They make a frickin' mess. But there was no hair there. There's nothing. I'm like, nothing? It's like, nope, nothing. No hair, no nothing? He's like, no. Not a sign of it. It's weird. There you go. Note taken. So now, moving forward. So we had to go back into town and got a big, long chunk of falling rope my buddy had, and we used up a grappling system and with a block, and we got the bear up out of the deep timber and over the cut block. But we got back there to go track the bear first. And then my friend was showing up with his tracker, and as he's coming down the old deactivated road on our left, I heard two distinct blasts of wood knock type sounds down in the timber to the left. I heard it loud and clear. I didn't say nothing, because I'm not with anybody that has any interest, and I know that it doesn't mean shit. But I know. You hear it. Why me? Why did I hear it? Why did the hunter not hear it? And instantly I'm thinking, uh-oh, I hope his bear's still there. Right? And it was. But there you go. There's a personal update from me. Now, what did I do with my phone? I just had it in my frickin' pocket. Hold on a second. All right, found my phone. What else? Had a couple fellas on the boat yesterday. One of them's watches his channel, and he's had a lot of experiences. So we had some pretty good chats on the boat yesterday. Showed me a whole pile of pictures, trackways that he found in the snow, and showed me another thing that he found up in the timber with big trees, poles, stacked up and all over the place. No, hold on a second. Sorry, a little interruption, but anyway, yeah, he showed me one picture that stood out for me was the great big trees, definitely placed in odd positions in the timber, in big timber, but one tree was upside down with the roots, I mean, way up there, and the roots up above with the rest of the tree pointing down. No denying that something crazy went on in there with extreme strength and no equipment. Not that we need proof of anything like that, but it would be interesting. It would be interesting for somebody to come forward to say they saw somebody resembling what's being described doing that physically, right? I think so far it's about 100% just seeing that stuff made, stacked, wound, without anybody doing it, right? But anyway, moving along. Time to hear some voices. He also had a photograph of one too. Up on the slide, showed me. Now, this is titled Bigfoot. Please don't use my name. You can call me Lee. They're not afraid of us, the people. They are afraid of the one who protects us. You don't have to be a Christian to be protected, but it does protect you on a much higher level. We're getting some blatant statements. It's just for me when people do start sharing information, like I always say, well, this is what I think, or I'm thinking possibly, or probably, but it's funny when people come across to me and just say, this is how it's going. Sorry for the interruption, and I'm not demeaning in any way, I'm just saying, oh, here we go, we're getting some bold statements here. They are Nephilim, but are not the original fallen or the original offspring. However, those are their ancestors. After the flood, they were allowed to remain, but had to stay hidden. I do not know what the punishment for being seen is, but I do know it's enough to make them want to stay hidden. There are loopholes. You may see them by accident. You may see evidence of them. You may see a tree shake or have rocks thrown. They know the loopholes. They are extremely intelligent. If you invite them, that's a loophole. If you can hear minds speak, that's a loophole. They're not allowed to enter your home, but if you invite them, that's a loophole. They are very good lawyers. They are the same as us, in that some are good and some not so much. Yes, they can speak to each other telepathically, but it's easier to clap rocks together or chirp like a bird than to say, I'm 30 trees to your right. Sound gives a very quick and accurate location. We are in the dispensation of grace. They can be saved just as we can. There is mercy for them just as there is mercy for us. Refer to the Book of Enoch and the Book of Giants. I don't know with absolution, but I believe cryptids vary by the type of angels they descend from. Check out Revelation. There are angels of all sorts, and in Revelation, even Christ's eyes glow a fiery glow. This dispensation of grace will end, and the veil will be lifted. Eventually, all that we call cryptids and aliens will come forward, except those who remain obedient. I don't know all there is to know, but not by a long shot. I have had close contact for a while. I am Christian, and I do trust what God teaches me. Some will hear and say, yes, she's telling the truth, because they too know, and others will never believe. Take from it what you will. I'm telling you what I can without bringing harm. I hope it helps, or at least confirms something for someone. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to Miss Ketchum on her work. Her efforts are so much appreciated. Truth sets us all free. Alrighty, there we go. Nothing we haven't heard yet. Some will never believe. It's not a belief. I shouldn't say that. I believe it's not a belief. It's whether or not you accept the truth. But there's some. If you have more, if you've been in contact for some while, why would you not share the contact with us? Right? Why would you not share that with us? And what harm would it bring? It's a loophole. Invited. What did you say? Sorry, I'm barely awake right now, you guys. All right, I'm gonna be a little rough going here at first. They are loopholes. You may see them by accident. You may see them by accident, but they make sure we see them intentionally, thousands of times. There's not a doubt about that. You can hear mine speak. That's a loophole. They are not allowed to enter your home. But if you invite them, that's a loophole. But they've entered homes without being invited. Without people even knowing what the hell they are, they've entered homes. Right? There's a bunch of things in there that somewhat contradict what you're telling us here. Just saying. But if you got more, if you've been in contact, maybe even just explain how it would bring harm and what harm would be brought. I'm curious. And we can go from there. If you wish. I appreciate you sending that in. Now. Okay. Hold on a minute. I've got a few people that want to come and sit down with me. One particular, pretty soon. And unfortunately, I thought I was going to be able to pull that all off after this weekend, but it's not going to be until probably the end of next week, unfortunately, right? That's another side note I forgot to share. Now listen to this. No title on this email. Don't know what it's about. Hi, Steve. You'll never believe what happened again. Try me. Remember me, the RN from Millville, Utah, who watched the big black hairy man run alongside the hillside from tree to tree, stopping and hiding behind trees, then continuing again, jumping over huge sage brushes, then stopping and twisting his upper body, hands and elbows up, looking back to see what was chasing him. Then running past the pump house, which gave me the perspective to know how huge it was. Oh, I remember that well. I use that as a reference often. Well, I was out tonight in the backyard and saw movement on the hillside near the pump house again. I focused on the movement and I saw a cinnamon-colored being that was smaller than the black one I saw before. It was about 7 p.m., similar to the same time in the evening I saw the huge black one. This one was skinnier and even quicker. It ran from the north to south, this time arms pumping and legs going so fast they again looked like the cartoon figure with the legs in a round blur. It was only about 6 feet tall, but it ran away faster than any human possible. It ran approximately 100 yards on broken terrain along the mountainside in about 5 seconds as I watched. Then hid behind a tree. I waited and waited. But I saw it move no more. I had the feeling it knew I was watching. It did know. I hate that they are near, so close to people, homes and families with kids who play outside their homes. It creeped me out. Why are they here? Why so close to our homes? Thanks for telling the truth and giving us all a voice with no ridicule. Me again in Millville. Gotcha. Appreciate you sending that in. I don't know why. I don't know why so close to homes. I haven't a clue. Myself, I don't know why they act the way they act. I don't know. A lot of people will claim to know because they read it in a book. Which is fine. But for me personally, like I said, what I'm after right now, I want straight up communication. No bullshit and no being terrorized afterwards. It's very frustrating for me. I mean, I'm so far past so much. It's very frustrating to me that these people, I'm calling them people, that these people can communicate somewhat and choose to somewhat, but never a smooth conversation. Why not? Right? And it's not, I do not believe they get punished for a little bit of contact, punished for somebody laying their eyes on them. No way, because it happens too much. Then it's too blatant, looking in windows, running beside a car, looking in the window. Right? There's no punishment going down there. And if there was, then that person that was doing that to the human persons wasn't well versed in the punishment. Didn't get the punishment notification at work, right? Why not the smooth communication? A lot being held back. What else? I'm waiting for, I got to get a hold of Darren too. See what his update is and see how he's faring out after having his last exchange in the woods near his place. I'm curious to know if he's going to have ongoing dog shit going on around his home or his cabin or what, or when he goes hunting, you know what I mean? Because that's still on the table. Me going in there with him is definitely on the table. That's another topic for later on. Enough babble. Let's listen to some people. Now, guaranteed new flavor of Bigfoot story never heard on this channel. All right, that's a bit of a bold one too. Whoops. Let's see, what do we got? Oh my God, my dog's at my feet. You wouldn't believe how fast she ran the whole length of the property to see me when I got home yesterday. Crazy. Dogs are crazy. From a fellow seeker of knowledge, call me the Sponge. The Colorado Clearview homestead. The concern on the face of the two men was palpable because as they watched the white cruiser drive in through the entrance gates of the property and head towards their location. Had it not been for the vehicle's high beams cutting their way through the dawn and the contrasting livery on the driver's side door, it might have been entirely lost against the snowy white backdrop. It could be only their second time meeting the county sheriff, and the first being the day they had moved onto the ranch some months prior, when he had stopped by to introduce himself. That encounter had been easygoing and cordial, but something told them this next interaction would be anything but. The carcass at their feet belonged to the neighboring property, and they simply had no explanation as to how or why it was now lying dead in the middle of their pastures. The cruiser pulled up in front of the ranch house some 300 meters away, and two men got out. John Presley, the ranch owner, was surprised to see the local vet accompanying the sheriff, especially at this early hour as he watched them trudge through the snow towards his location. This sounds like it was copied from somewhere. He was standing there in silence when his two young sons and business partner, Jim, and as the two other men halted in front of him, he went about introducing everyone before gesturing to the buffalo lying dead in the snow. Okay, what am I doing? Am I reading a book? This is miles long. This is a book, for real. This is somebody's book. Or a story. Alright, I'm going to get back to this at another time. Alright? Because if it's somebody's story out of a copied and pasted out of a book, that's not here for today. I need to hear from all of the people firsthand and what's troubling them and bothering them right now, right? Okay, what do we got? Moving along. It's like I'm getting warmed up before the game here. Okay, what's this one? This is titled, Ever Seen One of These? Hi, Steve. My wife's uncle found in his garden in Florida. After he found it in his yard, he brought it in and laid it on the counter. He thought it was dead, but he left the room, and when he returned, minutes later, it was gone. Weird, huh, Jerry? Yeah, that's pretty weird. Unless it's a common known, it looks like a moth. Let's see, is this going to work? This is really weird. Hold on. Oh, here. I know that's in focus because I can see it on the viewfinder. What the hell's that? How crazy is that? Hold on. Anybody seen something like that before? What the hell is that? I don't know. Yeah, that is weird. It's a good word to describe it. Very weird. Nope, I haven't seen one of those. Anybody else has? You know what to do. Chime in the comment section or throw down some email to me. All right. Excuse me. Excuse me. New York City Correction Officer Vic. Steve, that video showing the picture of that translucent, glittery human-shaped figure. He says that's that photo sent in, right? Is exactly what I saw in the Sterling Forest while bow hunting in 2017. You read my email on Christmas of 23. It's insane, Steve. I don't know what to believe anymore of what we're fed to believe. Stay well, Steve, and Godspeed. There you go, man. Thanks for sending that in. Chiming in. That was the photograph that Mr. Richard Hucklebridge shared with us. There you go. Somebody saw something exactly like that previously. That's what we're after. The patterns. And to give the people the relief, right? In a way, somewhat flavor of relief. Possible puzzle piece. And wanted to thank everyone here. Dear Steve, it's Nick Court again. I hope I'm allowed to use your name, Nick. Our family cannot thank you enough for sharing my cry for help. It brought a tear to my eye when I saw you share my email so fast. My mom is recovering great. Oh yeah, it was your mother with cancer. Asked for the shout-out prayers and we delivered a lot of them. My mom is recovering great. Good news. I wanted to thank all the kind people here for the kind words and prayers. I'm sorry for keeping everyone in suspense. I'm a firm believer in jinxing things, so I wanted to make sure we were in the clear before writing back to you. My mom was a potential candidate for a less invasive surgery that's more common in Europe. They flew her surgeon in to perform it. Wow. They gave her a transcatheter aortic valve implantation. Don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty serious. Essentially, they inserted her new aortic valve into her mitral valve, pulling it up through the groin and connecting it. Ugh, that stuff creeps me out. Yeah. Connecting it inside the pig valve they gave her last time, instead of opening her up again. Thankfully, they didn't need to resort to B, which was opening her up again. It's amazing how far these surgeries have come in the last 15 years. The difference with this valve is they used an organ from a cow. What? Now we're teasing her about having a petting zoo inside of her since the last valve she got was from a pig, LOL. Oh my god, you guys. Sounds like she's got a good sense of humor. I'm sure they've already started writing a script for some hospital show on her. The power of prayer is truly amazing. I swear I could feel something I've never felt before in the morning after your post. Wow. Probably did. I'm a firm believer myself. I'm not sure if euphoric is the right word to describe it, but it was like a warm, calming peace over my body and my chest, and it literally felt like a weight was lifted. I never felt anything like it before. I almost threw up because of it. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. Wow, that's crazy. And that's cool to read. Everyone here really came through. I wanted to personally thank you, Steve, and each and every one of you for taking your time to help a stranger in need. Our family thanks you. I'll leave out my thoughts on the Sabe and how I believe the Anunnaki are connected to who we were, also their relation to the forest people. These emails have a tendency to become longer than I planned. P.S. I've been dying to know if you ever fished with roe bags or skein. Not allowed to here for steelhead. You're allowed to for salmon in little parts of the river here. Or if you've got any special tips or recipes for curing them. No, I don't. Maybe a new video idea for the Cook It Eat It channel, haha. I personally just water harden and salt cure mine since the rainbows in Lake Ontario tributaries seem to be skittish on the commercial cures, from my experience. Love to hear you using the rivers. Hope you're getting the hang of the center pin. Okay, hold on. I think you had some more. Hope you're getting a hang of the center pin. It's definitely a learning curve. A Wallace cast will get you a bit further out if you haven't learned that yet. I'm sure you have by now. I think I would eat my hat if I found I could teach a lifelong hunting and fishing guide from BC anything about the sport, lol. I remember your first videos with a pin. You were looking pretty rough. Hell yeah, I was. I love learning to fish with them since it was almost like learning to fish for the very first time. P.P.S. I'm not sure if this is a puzzle piece or not, but when you shared about the pet psychic who helped find her dog, it reminded me of something that happened to me when I was younger. The morning that our puppy got hit, I had a dream about him dying just an hour prior. Ooh. Excuse me, it was such a strong dream. I woke up bawling my eyes out, and it took me 5 or 10 minutes to realize he wasn't dead. I didn't think much of it. And shortly after the older boys came back from their early morning fishing trip, I grabbed a bucket, then went down to get the fish out of the live well so we could clean them. My dog followed me down for a swim, and when I was on my way up, I crossed the road not realizing he was following me. I usually had to drag him out of the water, so I didn't look. I crossed the road and heard tires squealing behind me. I remember feeling pretty calm and thinking, okay, I'm still dreaming, I have to be, but nope. It's a hard lesson to learn when you're 12, but you live and learn. I always thought it was just a coincidence until you put me onto the Sean Ryan show. Thanks for that. He had a guest, Joe McMonigal. He's a remote viewer / psychic. He's trained lots of psychics at the Monroe Institute in the U.S. He's done some pretty incredible stuff. I'd urge you to give that episode a listen if you haven't yet. He sounds exactly like that pet psychic you mentioned about. I thought I'd let you know. Hopefully it's a puzzle piece for someone. Tight lines, happy hunting, stay safe. Good sir, and all the best, and thanks for all the people here. Keep putting light into the world, because Lord knows we need it. Nick Court, Toronto. What a kind and uplifting email. Nick, appreciate that, man. Super stoked to hear that your mother benefited possibly. Sounds like she benefited from the doctor's skills big time, but hopefully everybody here sending prayers had something to do with assisting. Now, what do we got here? Lost time in Griffith Park, California. Long email. Doesn't seem too long. First, I want to state that I've never seen anything. Not that I can remember. This is a long email with 4 experiences. You don't have to read them all or at all. Sorry, you don't have to read them all or at all. The more I'd hear you read the experiences of others, the more I realized and began to remember, and the more I've connected the dots. And just for context, I don't drink, I don't smoke, or do drugs. I'd always tell my brother what trails I'd be taking. Sometimes I'd go with friends. Much of the time I'd hiked on my own. But my brother and friends always knew where I'd be going. And no matter where you are on Griffith Park, you get lost and walk down. You're bound to hit civilization. You're never too far unless you stumbled your way out by the zoo. And then there are still vehicles that drive through that road. I really enjoyed the sounds of birds early mornings when the sun would begin to rise. I was a slow hiker because I was out of shape at the time. So out of shape that I'd laugh with my friends about giving the local mountain lion indigestion if she ever decided to have a good meal. I was for sure easy prey. I'd carry pepper spray, which gave me a false sense of security. Sometimes I'd carry a walking stick for safety reasons mainly, but I thought it just got in the way. I planned the trails I wanted to explore and always told my brother and friend where I was going. Again, I was a morning hiker. I'd spend maybe 6 to 8, sometimes 12 hours walking trails, but I always get to my Del Sol before sunset. Never planned to hike at night. Never past 12 hours. I hiked the same trails until I felt comfortable, and then I'd switch it up as my body got used to the routes. I'm a planner by nature, so I'd look up the map and follow the trails/plan. The times I deviated, I'd text my friend or brother what I planned on doing. The first incident happened in '05 in Griffith Park, California. This park is in the middle of the city between Burbank and Los Angeles, the Hollywood sign. This was my backyard. I hiked almost every trail from end to end in about 3.5 years, several times. And during this time I was unemployed, and I did contract work on the side, so my contract schedule gave me the freedom I needed at that time to make my hiking more enjoyable. I hiked almost daily. I was addicted. When hiking near the observatory side of the park, I'd mainly park near the bird sanctuary and/or the observatory parking lot. Always began my hikes early morning, mostly right before sunrise. By sunrise, I'd be on the trail and drove home late afternoon or early evening. One morning, I began walking on the bird trail sometime around 5 o'clock. It was still dark out, and I wanted to hike up to the observatory to watch the sunrise. Like many others have felt, I had the feeling of being watched, but I kept walking. It is in the middle of the city, and even though you'd have silent moments where you could appreciate the local fauna, the sound of the wind and trees, and the sound of Los Angeles traffic, a hum in the background in some areas, it was never dead silent. As I hiked up the trail, I realized there was a deafening silence. I felt the vacuum sensation many have mentioned. It went on for what seemed about 30 minutes while I walked through switchbacks. I continued to feel watched, and since we do not have mountain lions, I just kept my guard up and continued to hike. When finally walking out of the silent zone, everything came back to life. It seemed loud when everything came back at once. It was my first experience, and although I knew this was unique, I thought I was the problem. Maybe I temporarily lost my hearing? I'd share my story with other hikers, but no one seemed to have experienced that themselves. This weird incident stuck in my mind, but it didn't stop me from wanting to hike. Many months later, sometime around November, about 7 months later, I hiked up near Taco Peak, where I walked into the vacuum silent zone again. This time I'd been hiking for about 2 hours. At about 8:30 I lost track of time and came to in a different trail hours later. That's alarming as shit for me to read, because I do a lot of hiking. I was so confused, disoriented, and scared. The sun was beginning to set when I realized I was on the left side of the observatory's direction on Firebreak Trail, far from where I planned hiking. Wow. Actually, at that point, I hadn't even explored that side of the park before. I had to call my twin. He and his friends all loaded into a car and went to find me. By the time they got to me, it was about 1800. I thought I was going crazy, and he thought I was nuts for having hiked the trails for more than 14 hours alone. I couldn't explain the loss of time, and I cried. They felt bad for me. I just kept telling them I couldn't explain how I ended up on that side of the park, and completely exhausted. I know I had to have been walking because I'd been sweating. I was dirty, as if I'd gone off the trail. My muscles/body ached. When I snapped to, I knew I was so far there was no way I could get to my car from where I was. My brother thought I was disoriented for lack of food, but in my pack I still had a cool sandwich, enough water in my camelback, and a food bar. I thought maybe something bad happened to me, and I blocked it out of my mind, which scared me into checking everything I wore that day. I took inventory, looked at my unopened sandwich, which the bread should have been a bit soggy from the added mayo, but it wasn't. Or I thought, if I was knocked off my feet, the sandwich would for sure be smashed, but it wasn't. I even checked my panties, thinking maybe I was assaulted and blocked it out. But nope, there was no discomfort in that area or any clues as to what happened. I was so disturbed by this experience that I threw all I was wearing out, except my camel pack. I just didn't want to wear it again. Shaking my head. I didn't hike for several weeks after that. That just felt weird. But I was addicted, so I couldn't stay away long. I went back to hiking a week after the new year. My third experience happened less than a year later, around August. Definitely after the 4th of July. The plan was to park by the bird trail, walk down to the Riverside Trail, up to Hogback to Dante's View, and down the bird trail. Somewhere near Dante's View, I lost time again. Ended up on the opposite side near the LA Zoo. I didn't know how I got to where I was on Condor Trail. Way off course. Again, really disoriented. Not scared, but scared, if you know what I mean. More confused and concerned than anything else. The sun was setting as I hiked down the Skyline Trail and waited for my brother to come and find me by a street light. The only reason I knew what side of the park I was on was because I could see I was by the 134 and 5 freeway. I was walking in pitch black, where I dragged my feet to make sure I didn't go off the hill. Holy shit. I was way off course. Again, he picked me up. I got a good scolding, and I tried explaining that I couldn't hike back up to get my car without a flashlight, and I didn't know how I ended up hiking to the wrong area. I didn't tell him of my missing time because I didn't want to hear him bee me out for the next week. He drove me to my car by the bird trail and followed me home. I began to carry a flashlight after that and began setting a small recorder during my hikes. I was afraid that I lost so much time I couldn't account for, and maybe I was losing it. Was I losing my mind? There's mental illness in my family, and that's always in the shadows. This time I wasn't sweaty or dirty. I just seemed like I was picked up and moved to that side of the park, as if I was just starting my hike. I had slight headache, body aches, but no pain. Not like the first time. I want to say there was a couple that passed me, and I asked if I was okay, but I said, quote, "I'm fine, thank you," end quote. Kept going down. Now this part I remember, but I'm not sure if it was a false memory. It's more kind of a blur. Through these experiences, I never felt the fear some have expressed. I was disoriented and afraid of how I could have blacked out, like I explained it to others, but I never heard anything, or felt the fear some speak of, or seen anything questionable. There were always moments some hikers and I felt followed/watched. There was a time I had a couple say, "Don't go that way, it's got a weird vibe." That was about it. I actually thought I might have been napped by aliens, lol. I just couldn't explain some things. I was never fearful to the point that I thought I should stop hiking. I was more concerned by these experiences. Excuse me. The last experience was shared with my teenage son. We lived in Petersburg, Illinois for a few months, and we'd lift weights together. That day I was super sore, so instead of doing another workout, we decided to go to the school track where I could walk and he'd run laps. The area was empty, no cars anywhere. Being a small town, everything tended to go quiet earlier than we were used to, and this was around 2100. Upon our arrival, we walked a lap and he decided to run one. I continued walking. Then I felt it. A horrible sensation of being watched and the feel of a threat. I kept looking over the fence towards a pitch black field, and I couldn't shake the feeling. My son ran over and looked at me frantically. We both said we must go now. And because of each other's reactions, we felt the rise of panic and ran to his truck. And he frantically rattled his keys. We got in, he put the key in the ignition, and we drove off screaming at each other, "Go, go, go." Holy cow, that's pretty intense. That's really intense. As soon as we got a few blocks away, we felt a huge sigh of relief and began talking and laughing at each other's reaction. We couldn't explain what happened, and my husband thought we just fed off each other's emotions. We think of that often. Can you ask other Griffith Park hikers and see if anyone else has had any experiences? Anyone who has lost time? I need to know how exactly they experienced that, and how much time they lost, and how they felt, how they came out of it, etc. I think the loss of an insane amount of hours is what freaks me out the most. I know it's not mental because I'm sane now. LOL, as sane as can be. Thanks to you for giving us a voice and for tracking the patterns. Suggestion: your video's descriptions includes Sarah's store website link, but maybe you can type in the email to submit these occurrences too. I've heard you say it so many times, but now that I decided to email you, I didn't know it and had to search for it in older videos I'd watched. Ha! Yep, I'm one of those, shaking my head. Connie. Connie, I appreciate that email big time, and I have a feeling a lot of people are going to chime in. I have a feeling a lot of people who have that same experience don't want to talk about it. It might be sitting there in the shadows, right? And what was coming to mind was when my friend in Mount Curry, Kelly Dan, was explaining to us their friends were hiking just up the hill from the community there where there's nothing but sightings. And his friend was ahead of everybody on the trail, and then all of a sudden he was behind them on the trail, and he didn't know, and they didn't know how he got behind them, and he felt a little disoriented. That sort of thing really, I shouldn't say freaks me out, but it's got my attention. Right? As it should have anybody's attention, but that stuff's going on. Remember Edgar? Had the same thing happen, a real similar to what has happened to you, only he saw that being standing there jumping up and down. And then his cell phone went off getting texts from all around the globe at various airports or countries' airspace. Welcome him back in airspace. I don't know what's going on, but it is alarming, and it's so common. It's something else, right? People should be paying attention to that. Is it the veil? Is it the veil thinning around the globe in various areas? If that's what it's called, the veil, then it sure sounds like it, right? It sure sounds like it. Wow. All right. Well, watch the comment section below, or maybe we'll get some emails, but keep an eye on that down below, Connie. Be safe out there. Right? Be safe out there. You know what you can also do these days is find a GoPro or something. Bring a few extra batteries and a 128 gig card. And maybe put that on your backpack and hit record. Who gives a shit which way it's pointed, but just hit record and let her rip. And it'll alarm. It'll beep, beep, beep when it shuts off and let you know to stop, put in the new battery, and then you're good for 4 hours, right? You never know if you want to actually expose yourself to that again. I don't know. It sounds kind of creepy. I think if it happened to me, I probably wouldn't go back to that area just because. But that's just me. What else do we got? Somebody. When was this? Somebody sent me in a photograph, and that's it. Just a photo. Zooming in. Don't know what that is. Looks a little odd. It's a shitty detail about some of these photos, right? They're just not enough pixels, would you call it? Maybe something, may not be something, I don't know. But there you go. Shared. I shared the photo you sent in. Now what am I doing? I think I got to, well, hold on a minute. Who else? We got somebody else we need to sneak in here real quick. Did I read this one? It sounds familiar, the title, but it's not marked as read. You dumbass, why do you keep doing this? Alright, this is a short one, but it's marked as not read. And I think I remember. Whatever, I'm going to read it. Sorry. Red Rider Wagon is the title of this email. Steve, I hope this finds you in good health. I've been a subscriber to your channel since the first video I watched. You put that arrow down the gauntlet of that moose. I was hooked. My name is Daniel Lee from Central West Virginia. And yes, you can use my full name. Me and my little sister experience happened in 1980. We were 7 years old and dying to get a new Red Ryder wagon. With the wooden rails. We begged our parents for weeks for this wagon. Dad, of course, was a coal mine at the time working. Sorry, I think he meant Dad was at the coal mine at the time working afternoon shift. We got home from school one day and there was a wagon, that brand new Red Ryder wagon. Me and my sister was determined we were going to wear the wheels off of it. Dad left for work. As we were getting home, of course, we hugged the crap out of him. Well, Steve, I might have been young, but wasn't stupid. So I would have my sister pull me up the hill, and then we would switch places, and I would pull her down the hill towards the house. Mind you, we owned the whole end of the hollow. We knew Dad didn't come home till midnight, so it was getting dark. The porch light came on, and Mom yelled, "Time to come in." My sister was just getting me to the top of the hill, so we switched places, and I was going to pull her to the house. Steve, as soon as she sat down in the wagon, and I just grabbed the handle, the brightest light hit us. First thing I thought was, Dad got off work early, and we were about to get run over. I turned around to look down the road, and there was no lights. I never made a sound. It never made a sound. There was no wind. When I looked up, the object was approximately 25 feet above us. And from what I determine now as an adult, it was at least 100 feet straight across, and it was just one solid bright white light. Like I said earlier, I was young but not stupid. I knew exactly what it was. I slammed the handle to the wagon on the ground, and I was off to the races. I made it about 10 feet and realized I didn't hear my little sister behind me. It took all I had to stop, let alone to look back. But I did, and she was laid back in the wagon looking straight in the air, with the back of her palms down on the asphalt. She looked like she was paralyzed. And deep in my heart, I knew if I didn't turn around, and go back and get her, I was never going to see her again. I ran back and grabbed the first wrist I came to. I was going to grab the handle of the wagon, but I had a feeling that when we got to the house, I would look back and she wouldn't be in it. Of course, I got my ass beat for dragging her like a rag doll. Not once, but twice that night. First by Mom and then by my dad when he got home. The worst of all, when my dad got home at midnight, he made me go back up and get the wagon that was left behind. My sister couldn't speak till the next afternoon to verify that it really happened. By this time, my parents thought she was trying to defend me. Steve, they are out there. What's crazy, me and my sister hadn't talked about it in years. She called me about a week ago and said, "Hey, remember the time we got abducted?" So we are going over the experience. And more is coming to the surface. But Steve, I have a couple of Sasquatch experiences. That's where I learned true fear. I'll have to share them with you. And the compressor station stories. Very true. Sorry. I have a couple of Sasquatch experiences. That's where I learned true fear. I'll have to share them with you. And the compressor station story is very true. God bless you, brother. Thank you for your platform. All right, man. I don't know. I think this is an older email, but if you did you send me those? I don't know. If you're still hanging out and you haven't, send them. Get them to me. All right, man? Those poor kids. Think about it. Getting his ass licked. Twice. Parents, I would like to think today, hopefully, due to this channel anyway, that people stop and listen to their children a lot more than they might have previously. And I mean listen. Listen to the children. Big time, especially if you live rural. If you live rural, actually no, what am I saying? You listen to children, period. Especially today with all these filthy frickin' dirtbags running around preying on kids. And I wonder why that's become so popular the last couple generations. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? It's almost like every frickin' person in power in Hollywood's a pedophile today. Heard a rumor that Robert De Niro was busted in France in a pedo ring. Wouldn't surprise me. The guy seems real terrified right now. That's one scared little man, isn't he? Robert De Niro right now is one scared little man. Why is that? Right? Pedos in Hollywood. How to get on that topic from this? I guess when I'm talking about listening to children. So that department, any department, you always listen to children. But when it comes to this topic and weird things going on the planet, especially rural families, you need to listen to your children. No matter how outrageous it sounds, if you've been listening to the people here, you need to listen to the children. I believe they are far more in tune with the real world. Obviously they are. It's almost like today, the younger the child, the more intelligent the person. The person being the child. Until they get everything rubbed out of them, programmed, conditioned, manipulated. Right? Now what am I doing? A lot. I'm only home for a few hours. And I got a lot of stuff to do. I'm going to drag Sarah out to the boat. She hasn't been out for a while. Haven't seen each other for a while. And then I have to go right back at it. And I have to pick up guests on Sunday night at 10:30 to ferry them across to where they're staying. And then I'll have to get up at 4:30 in the morning after that and take them fishing. 7 people. Excuse me. But anyway, side note, if anybody does want to go salmon and halibut fishing, there is some time free on my boat, possibly, and my friend's big boat for the month of June. The rest of this month, there's a bunch of days missing. I mean available. If you're into salmon and halibut, it's picking up. I think, what did we catch yesterday? I don't know how many fish we caught. They got their limit of salmon, but I don't know what we caught. I haven't a clue. 20 fish yesterday, maybe? We caught 20 salmon, I think. Maybe even 25. Who knows? It was a lot. It was nonstop. I don't think I sat and watched the fishing gear getting dragged around for too long at all. Seconds. That's why I'm so beat up right now. And Sarah just mentioned, everybody loved this decal sticker that she had made. And they went like firecrackers are gone. She's got a small handful of them left on the shelf of her store, all right? Bink, got those. And these two. She's got those in there. Then this is high quality. Good material. Vinyl, I guess it is. Whatever they do. Now, hopefully, I will remember to put a link for the email. I wonder what... I just don't think, right? I don't put stuff in the... I don't normally remember to put links in the description. Unlike some people we know, some channels, I think they've got like a book of links to all their shit in the description channel, religiously. Whatever, I'll try to remember. I'll try to remember to put the email, share my story link in the description below for the people that get a little confused. And I'm probably the king of confusion myself. And I'm missing out on a lot I need to bring up and a lot that I'm learning. But there's more importantly, I have a fair amount of list of people that I need to speak with here, one-on-one, for all you to hear. They're lining up, and I really got to get that time and get it done. But I have to get these days on the water done first, and then I'm going to hit that daily. And get them heard. And get it to all you. Alright? So there. Links below. Links below in the video description. I'll be back.